one act of aggression and destabilization after another. And here we come to some uncomfortable truths. I have really disagreed with Jeremy Corbyn in the 35 years I've been a comrade in arms of his. But I disagreed with one thing that he said tonight. He said that the Western countries, including our own, were walking on by whilst Israel was committing these crimes against the Palestinian people, against the Lebanese, and threatening to do so against the people of Iran. This is not true. Our country is not walking on by. It's not turning its face away. Our country is a co-conspirator and accomplice in all of these crimes. In all of these crimes. And that isn't good enough. I'm sorry to throw tomatoes at Tony Blair. That discredited hulk is just too easy. It's a liberty. Gordon Brown and David Miliband and the government in Downing Street and Whitehall today is a conspirator in the crime against the Palestinian people. If you look on YouTube, you'll see a speech I gave on this subject of the siege of Gaza in Parliament at least 2 years ago, when Margaret Beckett, remember her, was the Foreign Secretary. In that speech 2 years ago, I described how the British government had placed a siege against the people of Gaza for no other reason than that in a free, fair and democratic election, they had elected a government that Britain, the United States and Israel didn't like, and that they had shut the gates, they had withdrawn the aid, they had seized the funds, which have made this siege the brutal, annihilating siege that it has turned out to be. When we were leaving London with the first VIVA Palestina convoy, in February, on the 14th, Valentine's Day, 14th of February last year, the same day, Gordon Brown dispatched the Royal Navy to the Gaza Strip. Why? To protect the civilians under bombardment, to implement international law, resolutions 242, 338, no. To tighten the siege on the people of Gaza that had brought them to their knees through starvation and disease. The British government has been a collaborator in these crimes. And indeed, as every Palestinian will tell you, in the form of Mr. Balfour, in his famous declaration issued in the building in which I sit, is the author of this entire Palestinian tragedy. And they have many friends in powerful places. It's true that we are many and they are few. It's true that Israel has few supporters outside the cesspits aforementioned by Anas al-Takriti, whose representatives are here. It's unbearable to look at them. Forgive me if I don't. Outside of those cesspits, Israel has almost nobody. If you called a rally in support of Benjamin Netanyahu, it would be a small rally indeed. But as we've heard from the Stop the War Coalition, they have friends in the police force who treated the demonstrations last December and January in an unprecedented way. I've been demonstrating for more than 40 years in this country. I have never seen such brutality from the police against any peaceful demonstration as I saw on this occasion. We heard about the 2-year sentences. We saw the injured people. I myself was assaulted in the underpass heading for Kensington. A brutal series of attacks by riot policemen on people trapped in an underpass into which the police had directed them, halted them, and then attacked them. My own daughter was assaulted, not once but twice, 2 consecutive Saturdays, knocked down by the police and stood on. And there were hundreds of people similarly attacked. The courts were handing out these sentences of 2 years on those demonstrators. The ministers who were promising to change the law, as they apologized on their knees in front of people whom an English court has just designated suspected war criminals and suspected of crimes against humanity. The Charity Commission, which has leapt into action for Haiti, thank God, but placed every conceivable obstacle in the way of those trying to come to the rescue of the people in Gaza. The BBC, which is broadcasting the Disasters Emergency Committee appeal for Haiti, thank God, refused to broadcast an appeal for the victims of the disaster in Gaza because Israel was involved and because they didn't want to offend Israel and its powerful supporters here in this country. Our country is deeply implicated, and other countries too. And this is the unkindest cut of all, as was said by Anas in his excellent address earlier. You see, there are many bad regimes in the world. There are many regimes that besiege people and kill people. The difference is they are accused of being besiegers and murderers. In this case, the people guilty of terrorism are called the victims of terrorism, and the people who are the victims of terrorism are called the terrorists. That's the insult. That's the insult which is added to the very considerable injury suffered by the Palestinian people over 60 years. But it's true that things are changing on the mass level, on the political level, and on the international level. And the brightest spot of all, and how they hate them down in those cesspits. Turkey now has a government which everybody in the world can respect and has to respect. Even the Israeli government had to apologize to them. I wish every country had a government like the government of Turkey. Davos, the refusal to militarily maneuver with the killers of the Israeli armed forces, the refusal to meet the suspected war criminal Barak, the warning to Israel over the treatment of their ambassador are all signs of a new role for Turkey in the region, and a good one at that. And eat this one up, Mr. Harry's place. When the Turkish lead a flotilla of ships into Gaza in a couple of months' time, breaking the siege with ship after ship after ship, we'll be there. The flags will be flying, and the people of Gaza will turn out on the shore to welcome those ships as they come in. Because you missed something. You missed something. You've locked the gates on the Israeli side. You have corrupted the government of Egypt to lock the gates on the Egyptian side. But the sea is open to those who have the courage to take it. We do, you'll see.